So it is Monday and we are at the beginning of a new unit. This would be unit, I'm gonna say 15, I'm pretty sure on that one. And it is week 1 and we are all about construction this week. So our goal for this unit is to just teach our kids a little bit more about construction and building materials and ways they can build and the vocabulary that surrounds building things and constructions. As always, we are going to use simple to prep yet very engaging and educational activities to accomplish this. And it's also going to build that foundation for those math and science and language skills. I'll be sure to list all of the supplies and books that we're going to use for this unit or this week of the unit in the description below. And I will also link our playlist in case you want to catch us from the start on week 1 of unit 1. We will mostly be using practical items from around our house, and if you cannot find the same items that we are using, you will easily be able to substitute for something else that you do have in your home. I will also be sure to include a screenshot of the song and poem that goes along with the 2 weeks of this unit. So let's do this. Monday. After your morning calendar or circle time routine, and once you have gotten through the poem and the song that is included for this unit, then we want to continue to talk about this topic and just start asking questions such as what is a construction site, or ask if your child knows what happens on a construction site. Then you're going to want to get into today's read aloud, which is Work Dog Work. Now I will say I had a hard time finding a good read aloud version of this on YouTube, so we ended up actually watching Build Dog Build, because there's a few books in this series. We watched that book twice over and we didn't particularly love or dislike this one, but construction vehicles, construction site, construction language is something that we are very familiar with around this house. My husband works in the construction industry, and Colton right now is obsessed. I don't even think that accurately describes it. He is obsessed with vehicles in general, and he really likes the construction vehicles. So it is nothing new to us around here, that's for sure. And for our things to talk about, as always, you want to be sure to point out the author and illustrator of the book if that information is available, and to do a picture walkthrough first, trying to guess what's going to happen with your kiddo before you do the actual read aloud. Our learning activity for the day, which is what we actually started with today, is sorting trucks. So you want to grab a basket full of different types of vehicles and have your kiddos sort the construction vehicles from the non-construction vehicles. And if that's not enough and you want to keep going, you can then sort again by color perhaps, and then maybe sort by size. You know, really you want to keep this activity going as long as your kid is still interested in it. We did this one right off the hop today, as I mentioned, and we included it with our poem and song. So with the song for this week, you can just keep changing the verses simply by changing the vehicle. So when we pull out the vehicle, we would talk about the name of the vehicle and what the job of the vehicle is, and then sing a verse of the song that's included with this unit to go along with the vehicle we had picked. Then for our easy activity is simply a construction sensory bin. So in the program it is recommended that you get a smaller bin for this one and perhaps some dried rice or whatever dry material you want to use. Put some of your construction trucks in it and then really add whatever you want to add. Anything that you can put in that your child will be able to move around with the construction vehicles really will work. Luckily for us, the weather is, well, it was tolerable. It's disgustingly hot out today, I will say. But we went out very early this morning and took this one outside because I really wanted the kids to be able to have fun and not worry about trying to play nicely and more gentle with it because we are inside. Just with having the construction vehicles, things lift and lower, and even though they're small, you know, stuff kind of goes flying everywhere. So we took it to a little table we had outside. We had dirt in there, we had sand, we had rocks, and snail shells is also what we added in there. I also added in some of the larger like craft popsicle sticks and a couple of, they're not Lego, they're not Duplo, there's something that falls in between. Just, you know, the Lego style of blocks, just to give them some other materials to help them build their construction site or whatever it is that they were wanting to build. And we had a lot of fun with this activity. And I was very happy that we could bring it outside because I didn't really have to clean up after, and I'm thankful for that today. So feel free to use a different dried good. You could use shredded paper or like Cheerios or Rice Krispies or any other cereal really if it's starting to perhaps maybe get a little bit stale. Popcorn kernels we've used in the past. You could use dried beans or lentils. That's just a really easy way to make a sensory bin sort of like a new experience and to make it really fun. And that's all for today. It's Tuesday, so once you get through your morning circle time or calendar routine, then we want to get right into a review topic. So you're going to ask a question today such as, what vehicles could you tell me or name that would be at a construction site? Then we're going to get into our read aloud for the day, which is simply a repeat of yesterday's, which we didn't do today. There was no interest in rereading this particular storybook, so we just left it at that for today. For our things to talk about today, we are going to introduce the letter Y. So as always, you want to have this written in upper and lower case on a piece of paper, whiteboard, chalkboard, whatever you've got, along with a few familiar words, and again, go over the sound that it makes. And this one is a tricky one because it makes more than one sound, which we discovered when we went back through, not today's read aloud, that's what's suggested in the program, is to go back through that and try to find a couple of examples of both in upper and lower case. So we went through a different book that we read today, and we also went back through our song and poem that goes along with this unit, trying to spot the letter Y. And you know, we found just as many Y's at the ends of words as we did as at the beginning. A lot of the times when it's at the end of a word, it makes the E sound. So that brought up very good, but I think possibly confusing conversation about the letter Y. So our learning activity for the day is an alphabet hunt. So it is suggested that you get out the flashlight and just search through your house looking for the letter Y.
I'm gonna look for a letter Y with your phone light.
Okay. She is currently going on this hunt again with my phone light, as you may have just heard. So our easy activity for the day is block tower counting. So this is a math-based activity. You are going to let your child build a tower out of blocks, and then you're going to help them count. All right, bring it. Let me see. You are going to help them count how many blocks that they use to build the tower. So you may need to do this in sections of 10, helping them count. Where's the Y? Point to it.
Right here.
So once you have completed this, you can do even more sorting. Sort the blocks by color, sort them by shape. We did this a couple of different times today. First with the building, we all built our own towers, and then we kind of built one together. And we got through the sorting of color a little bit before interest was lost. And then we separated the ones that were a different shape and saw which one was the tallest and how many we had of each, things like that. You can really put lots of different aspects on this activity and keep it going as long as you can.
And that's it for today.
It is Wednesday, so once you have finished your morning time circle or calendar routine, then you want to get right back into the topic of construction and ask your child a question such as, what is your favorite truck at a construction site? Then we're going to introduce the book for the day, which is Dig, and be sure to show your child the illustrator and author's name if you can. As always, you're encouraged to do a picture walk through the book first before you do the actual read aloud. And we had a great time guessing with this book what is going to happen, because there's a lot of different things happening on each page. So for our things to talk about, you really want to talk about the different things that Mr. Rowley had to do at each construction site and how there can be different types of construction sites. For our learning activity today, it is comparing tools. So you want to grab a basket of tools, whether you have real tools or play tools, whatever you've got on hand, and really pull them out. Compare them by size, what their jobs are. Hold two different tools up at the same time and compare them side by side. And if your child's into it, you could even get a ruler out and take measurements of the actual tools. We really got into the goods with these tools. We talked about, because we have some that are battery operated, they are much like a real tool. There's a battery pack you can move from tool to tool and make that tool actually work. We do have a lot of hand tools, and she even really got into the measuring tools, which is something that she usually shies away from when I try to engage in some type of measuring activity with her. So I thought it was great that all on her own she took a big interest in some of the measuring tools. It was really, really fun activity. For our easy activity today is a hammering station. So it's suggested in the program that you get out some styrofoam and either some golf tees or toothpicks, or we've previously done an activity like this. I don't remember the unit, but I had got some big barbecue skewers and just cut them in half. And have your child, start the hole for them, and then have your child hammer down the whatever material it is that you're using. So we also took to our tool bench for this because we do have some nails that hammer into the holes. So Nola had a really great time doing that and showing her brother how to do that too. And that's all for today. Thursday. So after you complete your morning routine, the question that we want to ask this morning is, how do a hammer and nail work together? Then you want to get into today's read aloud, which is simply a repeat of yesterday's. And for our things to talk about, we are going to revisit the letter Y. So as always, you want to have it written on a piece of paper or chalkboard or whiteboard in both large and small print, along with a couple familiar words, and be sure to go over the sound that this letter makes. Then you can go back through the read aloud on just a few pages and see if you can find an example of an upper and lowercase y. Our learning activity today is joining nuts and bolts. So first you want to talk about what they are and how they work together. Then you want to separate the two into two different groups. And again, we're going to work on joining numbers. So count how many nuts you have, count how many bolts you have, and then count how many you have all together. And then start off again with the small grouping of numbers. Count 2 nuts and 1 bolt and count them together. Go on, adding 1 each time to whatever level you feel that your kiddo is at. And again, we're not looking for any mathematical comprehension of addition or subtraction or anything like that. We're still introducing this concept of grouping numbers together. Always make sure you are touching each one as you're counting it, and you can go ahead and use real nuts and bolts if you have them on hand. We just kind of sporadically got into this activity with the play nuts and bolts from our tool set. So we did a little bit of the joining nuts and bolts, but we really did a lot of the screwing the nuts down onto our actual tool table. There really wasn't a lot of interest when it came to joining groups and counting. So because I kind of know that when I'm requesting it, sometimes I face a lot of resistance from her. So I just take the opportunity whenever it arises throughout the day, whether it's toys that we're playing with or food that we're eating, or whenever I see an opportunity to count groups and then count them together. Not really sneak it in there, just let it come about naturally, and things tend to go much smoother that way. Our easy activity for the day is giant building. This one is so much fun. So we had saved a few boxes, and luckily for us, we had just put together a couple of deck boxes that we ordered. So we have 2 really big boxes and then a couple of Amazon boxes that had just been delivered. And what you are to do is to build whatever bridges, houses, caves, towers, whatever you can come up with, but use giant boxes instead of just our normal building blocks. Now, they don't have to be enormous. And if you don't have any larger boxes, just anything that you don't normally use is great. You can use shoe boxes or diaper boxes or Tupperware if you don't have any boxes, cereal boxes, grab boxes of food out of your pantry, whatever you've got, just to make, kind of like an older activity that we do lots of building, but have we ever done it with these big, huge, giant boxes? Now, we didn't quite get to take it to the scale that I was hoping for because it has been miserably rainy and humid this is day 4, like all week it has been like this. So I originally thought we were going to take this outside, which would be, just a totally another new aspect we'd be adding to it, but we've kept it inside. So we had fun building towers together, knocking towers over, building bridges we could crawl through. I didn't bring all of the boxes out because now we're doing this in the living room, but this is an activity that we started way back on Monday, and we have been doing it pretty much every day since we've been stuck inside, and it has been a lot of fun. Until Colton sits on the boxes and flattens them out. That's just, he's 1.5, it's gonna happen. So throughout this activity, it's really, really great. This is really a STEM activity. Ask your child, how do we make it taller? How do we make it wider? How can we make it so that we can go under it like it's a bridge? Just asking questions gets them thinking on a different track than just perhaps building a straight up and down tower, and helps to keep them just that little bit challenged. It's Friday, so after you complete your morning routine, you're going to want to get right into today's read aloud, which is the construction alphabet. And for our things to talk about today, you're going to want to help your kiddo recap and recall not just the story, but what is a construction site and what kind of things can happen on a construction site. Or what are they making on a construction site? Our learning activity today is copying towers. So this one came about really, really easy this morning. Nola wanted to play parrot. She started talking about a pet parrot, so I said, let's play parrot. I'll be your parrot. And I was copying everything she said, and then it just kind of struck in my mind, this is like what we're doing today. So we took it right over to the blocks. I had kind of separated 2 piles that had the same pieces in them already so that this would go over a little more smoothly. And because Colton really likes likes to participate too and wants to use the blocks that we're going to be using, and I didn't want anybody getting too frustrated while we were playing this game. So I took it out first as I was putting a block down, and then she would put a block down, and she just copied me until we had used all of our blocks to complete our tower. We took them apart, and then a little bit later on we did get into where she would pick the blocks and construct the tower, and I would copy her as she went, all while trying to keep Colton from stealing our blocks. It was a really fun game. And our easy activity today is to decorate the letter Y. So print off or write out a big block letter Y, and then get some yarn and grab some paint and have your kiddo drag the yarn through the paint and drag it across the Y till they have completely decorated their letter. You want to save this letter and cut it out and glue it to a piece of construction paper, or just slide it in whatever you are using to create our alphabet book. Now for this activity, Nola had some very strong opinions because we've previously made a spider web a few times using yarn, that we were not decorating the letter Y with the yarn. We were decorating that with her leftover Valentine's Day stickers. But she wanted to make a spider web out of the yarn with purple paint, and I needed to cut out all of the shapes in brown paper for her to glue together a spider to then put on her web. This girl knows what she wants. So, of course, that is what we did this morning, and we had a really great time making her spider web and making her spider to go on top of it, and then decorating her letter Y. We had a lot of fun this week. The activities that we did were just kind of scattered all through the days this week. We didn't necessarily follow the steps in the program, and this is a reason that I always like to read ahead and see what's coming, because if we have the opportunity for one of the activities that we're going to do, if it comes about naturally, then, you know, go with it. It's just so much more enjoyable that way, and the kids really seem to pay attention and want to play or engage that much longer with an activity when it's their idea. We've also had some great opportunities this week. They have just started building a brand new house just a little down the road, which we've been periodically checking on and watching the progress, and Colton loves to see the big vehicles that they use. Again, our day-to-day lives are just kind of popping up perfectly with this program, although it is construction season, so it's really not that hard to find. So that's it for the day, and that is it for the week. Another fantastic week as always. If you like this video, then please show us and give us a thumbs up. Perhaps share it with somebody that you think might enjoy it as well, or consider subscribing. Thanks.